Welcome everyone to our July working group meeting. Thanks for dealing with the rescheduling. Let me make my screen a little bit bigger. Okay, Max, the first thing you wanted to talk about was Go module setup in Bosch releases. Do you want me to go to this Slack link?
Yeah, I just have to check what I actually linked there. Right, yeah, we were discussing this. So essentially, this is coming because we got a requirement, a compliance requirement to assess all of our dependencies, our direct dependencies. And as a result, we are tracing a lot of libraries to which component they actually belong because we use Go router and route registrar, for example, but we don't use routing API. But it's not easily distinguishable which component actually uses which library. And I understand that this Go module was initially introduced as a migration away from Go path and was just easier to have that one module. But the question is there some other reason why we have this single module? Because now we have things like Go workspaces that allow us to bundle modules, and we could technically split them, but then we have to maintain multiple Go module files, and it's just whether there's concerns or is this something that we would like to do, or yeah.
So I think the Go workspaces is a fairly new feature.
Yes. Yes.
And I've explored it a little bit in regards to just trying to like simplify the path that we have, and like the same the same difficulty remains, meaning that like you would still have to and I think like maybe it's just worth reiterating, like the problem that we have with some of these modules is that like they import each other. And so in order to get around this, you would have to like either like define a relative path, meaning that like we do that in guard and run C release. We're redefining like an actual physical path from like a garden to a guardian to get around some of that issue. So like without introducing some of that's like replace directive, like like I couldn't straightforward get it working. So that said, I don't want to discourage you from like exploring this area. I've just, been able to spend the time that I have to just try to simplify this, and, maybe there's a different path, maybe there's a different direction, but the whole idea should remain the same, that these individuals, modules should eventually come together in a given Bosch release, and that we can update them. Like we have already a standalone individuals, like, let's, for example, like Diego login client or Ledger, for example. So we already have pattern for like updating these standalone modules, which we can still utilize if we can get them into that stage. But as it being the stage it's at, it's just, it's not possible unless we do some kind of a, you know, just, fancy dance around it. As far as, and then I want to say that like you should just explore different areas.
Yeah.
And like, I'm just like sharing what I have already worked on, and this probably goes back a few years now, but
Okay, yeah, I've done a little bit experimenting. I wasn't really able to do a lot, but so the way I understood that this works is that when you have a workspace setup that includes multiple modules, Go will always prefer the module over the actual import path. So if we have Go router, for example, importing models from the routing API, usually it would now go to the Go module registry and look up what's the current version of Go router, would go get it, save it in your module package, repository cache, and then build that. but if it detects that you are in a module, it will actually use the code that's in the module and not whatever version you have defined. So that should allow this kind of, it should work similar to how the modules currently work, as in you don't go away to like some proxy or some other GitHub repo and fetch it, but you rather use what you have locally. It seems to work that way.
So the problem with the workspace pattern and like just like I guess I just mentioned that what you're saying is true, but in the case of like let's say Go router, when we're saying that it uses it locally, um, like the way we have that set up with having a generic module called code.cloudfoundry.org, like that would no longer exist. So I don't know how it will find it locally because it's not a it is a routable address like code.cloudfoundry.org. Go router is a routable address that will get you there. I don't know how it will find it physically on the release itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's one of the big black boxes for me, how that entire Go module setup works, because I know that like the domain exists and it has some logic to redirect you to the correct GitHub repository, and that's just how modules work. But I don't know where the logic that redirects you is. Like if there's some repository for that domain and for whatever runs on it.
Right,
That would
exactly. So
probably
that
also
beats me.
be
I don't know
interesting.
how exactly Go Workspace is able
Okay.
to do that part of it. But I can explain to you how that works in the current scenario. It's simplified in the sense that it's just path based. Like a
Mm,
directory called Go Router would be underneath a module called code.cloudfoundry.org, and that's how it finds it in other words. So it's basically like a physical path base. That's
mm.
how it detects it in the current scenario. So yeah, I don't know how the workspaces would work. There's a lot of magic that happens in the Go world, and we all experience it from time to time. So yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, my main concern is that this can cause a lot of work because managing multiple modules compared to one, and we already have this release pattern where we have submodules that are just bumped to the latest version, and we don't really need any of the other features of modules. So I'm inclined to say that this is, at least for our setup, the easy way from a maintaining standpoint, although it's a pain to trace which component actually uses which library. But I guess that's kind of a side effect we have to live with. At least I don't really see much of a benefit of splitting the modules besides the traceability.
And one more thing in here, just to shine some light in here. We are not, I don't think any one of us are married to the idea of like having submodules. Like we have constant internal conversations of like, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to have the submodules? But we
Mm,
just haven't found any other way around it. Like if we can come up with a proposal that like sort of like actually solve this problem that we have and like put the work in it to sort of like fix this problem, like we would happily be off of submodules. So I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, Amelia, but I feel like that's just the internal, like all of us feel the same way. But
Yeah, agreed.
I mean, for the modules that are only consumed in one release, you can just, or the repositories that are only consumed in one release, you could just put them in the release. Like there's Git subtree to do that and maintain all the history and so on. For the ones that are consumed in multiple releases, that's not possible, and you would keep having submodules. I don't know.
yeah, I guess what's stopping us from doing that is that if we can't do it all the way for
Yeah.
everyone,
Mm,
like what would we gain by losing the history of the other ones? So that's sort of where we're at. We're like, okay, if we can't really solve this as a whole, are we really gaining anything by doing like a subset of them? So
mm.
yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay. I'll have to think a bit more about this and maybe try and see if I can get a POC to work. Yeah, but as I said, I'm not sure if it really gives us any benefit. Yeah, unless there's anything else.
Great. Thank you, Max, for bringing this, and thanks, Amin, for attending, or other Amelia. Alex and Max, you wanted to talk about replacing our outdated Zap.
Yes, we do.
2016, come on.
It's
Only 8 years.
basically brand new, right? So there's basically 3 or so wrapper layers around blogging that eventually end up in Zap. And that wouldn't be so bad. The really bad thing is that these wrappers also wrap things that are on debug level and prepare a lot of data that you put as debug level, process it, and then Zap does nothing with them. So that shows up in profiles, in profiling. And I would like to get rid of that eventually. And I started something and then I realized, oh, Zap is actually really old. And the thing that, or how I could do it in the new Zap, how I tried it, doesn't actually work in the old one. And I didn't want to do the work in the old Zap to just have to thing away and try again in the new Zap. So ideally we should update the logging at the very least in GoRouter somehow. Now the question is, are we married to Zap, or would we also consider structured logging in Go that was introduced? Max, correct me if I'm wrong, and Go 122 or something like that, or 21?
Yeah, something.
I'm definitely not married to Zap. My one concern is that about changing log format. So as long as the logs come out the same and look the same, that's what I care about.
That's the challenge.
Yeah.
That's the challenge, yes.
Do you want to change something under the hood that's not from 2016? I'm all for it.
You can do it, Commandant. Do Go structured logging, it will do much better, and one less dependency to take care of.
Yeah, I thought you made a very interesting point, not just that it's old when I was reading this morning, but that how much extra, time or processing it's taking.
Yeah.
I think that's very compelling. Yeah, I'm all for it. You were tagging David Sabetti, who is now been let go because he refuses to commute to an office. So I don't think he's your best point of contact anymore.
Right. That sucks.
Yeah. We agree. But yeah, I'm all for it. I suggest proceeding by choosing a very small area where you can do this, like maybe, do it job by job, or like if there's some way to do it in a small area, not have to do everything at once. I think that'd be awesome to start doing this in piecemeal.
And because we have these many wrappers, I think we can also retain some structural integrity, the final output also.
Yeah.
Okay, so we
Great.
should probably unassign then.
I
Or
did
reassign,
unassign.
I don't know. Ah, okay, you did.
No one. Is that better? I was on myself, but feel free to, I'm not going to do the work for you.
Yeah, it was mostly for raising awareness and
yeah.
If and when we have find time and
Yes.
whatever else resources.
But again, this is also coming from the requirement that we recently got, where we have to assess our dependencies and replace anything that's older than a year that has newer versions. Well, 2016, and it has lots of versions. And I also noticed that someone else started removing replace directives and updating dependencies, which we really like because it takes off work from us.
It goes directly into the same kind of path that we were
Yes.
taking or planning to take.
Oh, great. That's awesome. I'm glad.
Which
Yeah, we have
actually
some.
might free up more resources for Zap removal.
I was just going to
Let's see.
say that we have an internal document that we have like a proposal. We should probably share that with the outer group and broader group in here for like a general approach for removing replace directives. And so I think it might be helpful as like a general approach in here to just share that out more broadly.
That would be nice. Because yeah, I guess we could also share our list of dependencies that we will adjust.
Yeah, that would be
Meaning
great.
we either update them, or there are also some that are unmaintained by now that we might want to replace. Yeah. Maximilian dot. Yes.
That's great. Awesome. Look at us taking care of our routing release. Any other thoughts on outdated Zap or other dependencies that are getting replaced? I'm excited to see it.
So the one other thing that we are thinking about, but we don't really have a reason yet, is metrics. So we currently still use envelopes v1 from the logregator stack, which are considered, I mean, they're not deprecated, but there's v2. And then also a lot of components have moved, like excluding Diego because it has to do app metrics as well, have moved to Prometheus-based metric thingies. And that's also something that we could consider, because Prometheus is passive, so you just expose the endpoint and people collect from it and you operate purely on memory. Whereas with envelopes, you actively are pushing out UDP packets to a local agent, and that can take up time in your hot path, so to say, which is something that we were looking to get rid of in GoRota as part of all sorts of performance improvements.
Yeah, you can do that if it affects your performance, but I can tell you that logregator does conversion from v1 envelopes to v2 on the fly, the logregator library. So if you don't need to do it, like if you're not in a hurry, you can leave it for later, I would say. If it's only like to have v2 version of the log envelopes.
Yeah, so the goal would be to move to Prometheus and not to v2, to get rid of this kind of pushing and go to a pulling based approach, whatever.
Much optimal for the go route.
Great. Any other thoughts on our outdated dependencies? Okay, Plowman, you read a new RFC. I think it's related to cloud native build packs.
No,
Really?
it's actually related to the extension of the service binding, actually externalizing service binding information on the file system. So am I linked something wrong, but not here? Okay, it's just for your information that we are working on this already on the Diego site, and we are close to have something like a demoable, and most probably during the upcoming weeks, we plan to sync with our copy colleagues just to let them know that we already have something working, and we would like to sync the contract between the copy and Diego. And soon after that, we plan to push some PRs. So just would like to let you know that something will pop up soon, hopefully.
Right, so we would be getting this run action from Cloud Controller, and by we, I mean Diego.
Yep.
And be implementing this part of it.
Yeah,
right?
we're implementing Diego part only.
Mm-hmm.
Currently, the externalizing of the service binding information in the container file system. This will save us will save us from this issue that we currently face with the limited binding information, which is currently 131K something. But
Oh yes, I forgot about that. Yep.
yeah. In our predictive scenarios, we often see that this limitation is really becomes a problem and customers are suffering.
Nice.
Do we
I'd
have
forgotten
some?
about that problem. I thought this was for cloud native build packs because they read things off the file system too, right?
Yeah. No, it's another one.
I see.
Do we have some security concerns about, like, if we store service configuration on the disk and then some services need some credentials and things? Have you made some thoughts about that, and how do we not leak credentials, or how do we don't let
Yeah, we are currently more or
credentials
less reusing the similar strategy which is used for the instance identity certificates. So they really match one-to-one. And with regards to security, etc., so more or less, I expect that these concerns should be kind of resolved on RFC level during the discussion, but at least from my point of view, I currently do not see such. But anyhow, if you have some feedback, you are welcome. Anyhow, we will create PRs.
Because the credentials are encrypted in the cloud controller database, and they're only available if you have access to a particular service or particular application which uses the service, and then you see the credentials there if you do CFIN for something like that. But if we have them on the disk, then it means that everyone who has access to the VM can eventually access the credentials as well. But I have to go through the RFC to see what's going on there.
Yeah, it's a good question.
Blind guesses.
I do think that there's another mode with CredHub where CredHub can write credentials on disk in the app. So I think we might have a pattern of storing credentials on disk, but I still bring it up. Great. I'm sure we know some customers as well that will like to be able to have that longer or have a shorter string.
Yeah, we expect to have something like close to one megabyte of data in these VCAP services variable.
Wow. Okay. Everyone review the RFC. And we'll look out for a PR soon.
Yep.
Comments. Questions about sticky session cookies, max age, and expiry. I know you maybe brought up something on Slack about this recently.
Max did. So hello, first of all. Yeah, nice to meet you. So I've recently joined the team, so seeing you all for the first time, I guess. Yes, so Max had opened a thread on Slack recently, I guess, regarding sticky sessions. So we were further investigating. But did you open it here, Max?
I know it's in the networking channel. Yes, there it is.
Yeah. So that was the starting point of the journey. So we tried to find the behavior or understand the behavior of Go router when writing cookie headers from the JSession ID to the VCAP ID. So the background is that with the partition cookies, it's possible that there are two different JSession IDs, so one partitioned and one not partitioned, and so this could bring some trouble as far as I understood now. And we were trying to understand how those cookie headers are set. So should I share my screen, Max, or should I just post the link so someone else can share?
You can just post the link, I think.
Okay.
Amelia can.
Yes.
Show it.
Just a second. Yeah, so what we do not understand yet is, so So we have the expiry parameter and the max age parameter. So expiry is always set from the JSession ID cookie, but max age is only set if it's 0 or below 0. And this is a bit confusing, especially regarding the fact that max age is the newer of those two. So it also takes precedence over expiry if both are set. So we are wondering why positive max age values are not taken over in the VCAP ID cookie. Yeah. So the we also found the commits. So the commit for setting expiry is 4 years old. And the one for setting max age conditionally if it's below 0 is even 9 years old. Yeah, just throwing that in.
So yeah, as Clemens already explained, the main thing would be interesting is if you could maybe share if there's any details in the pivotal stories behind that, like why you introduced the expiry.
Like the
example.
story for this one and for the max age.
Yeah, the max age one I can look up in.
Yeah, I've just posted the link.
Ah, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, the max, I tried to dig into the max age, but it went so far back. Yeah, you said you found one for 9 years ago.
Yeah.
Oh
That's
wait,
like,
there's the line link is missing. Sorry for that.
uh,
Line 317.
okay. This one.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So in the test, so we looked at the test cases, and there's one test that says set the sticky session for sessions. So it seems to me like it was initially chosen that the VCAP ID cookie should always persist for the entire browser session, which happens implicitly when you don't set a max age. The issue with that is that the JSession ID can expire and can, I guess, be reset. Then we would also reset the VCAP ID, so that is probably not an issue. But still, it just feels a bit weird that we don't copy that, but we do copy the expiry. So we were just wondering.
Yeah, let's see. I'm gonna do this off screen. Let's see if this story still exists. Suspense. My browser is not loading. Okay. I'm having trouble just with my browser now. Sorry, you all get okay yourself.
It's also not super urgent, so if you can just like just share it later, that would also be nice. But you just said that when you implemented the expiry, you didn't like fully trace back the max age.
I was just poking around because you started that Slack thread.
Ah, okay.
And like I tried to trace back max age and I got tired because it went back so far.
Yeah, we spent about half an hour together with ChatGPT to get the right git blame command, but we eventually found it.
Clemens, can I give you the an action item to post those commits somewhere, and then I'll link the stories and send you information from the stories.
Sounds good.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Do you have an email that's here? Maybe not.
That's just Clemens.Hoffmann.
I wonder if you're not an editor on this, and that's why.
He's not.
Yeah. Provide links to commits. We'll look up tracker stories for them to find context. And the ultimate question that we're trying to answer is, why don't we set max age, right?
Yeah.
Like we do expiry. That's the question.
Yes.
Okay.
And we will just reuse the Slack thread that already exists and just ping you in.
Great, thank you. Okay. Things keep being added. Jochen, migration of Git repos from Cloud Foundry community to the Cloud Foundry org.
So recently, few months back, we've created a local Bush release as a helper for our logging and metrics area, so that people can use Loki for as a log management solution. And at the moment we have it configured in autopilot mode with version bumps and everything. And we were wondering if we can move it to the Cloud Foundry org, if there's some process there, and who should we talk to if a migration is possible. If someone can give me some pointers.
Let's see, we chatted about this before.
Yes. Yeah, then it was decided that we put it in the Cloud Foundry community org. So that we set up everything and configure it so that we have dependent bots, version bumps, and
I see. So first it was moved to the community org, and now you're saying, what does it take to get it moved to the normal,
yes.
the normal Cloud
We'll
Foundry
continue
org?
maintaining the release and everything, of course. So yeah, the problem which we have is that we want to publish it on bosch.io, but we need to use a Blobster for that. We have one in hand, and for the releases in the Cloud Foundry org, I think there is such a possibility, and that's what it is.
Yeah. There should be
So
a open.
are you saying that unless it's inside the Cloud Foundry org, you cannot put it in Bosch.io?
I'm not sure.
Bosch.io definitely has things from the community in it.
Okay. Okay. Then I'll have to take a look at what's going on there. Yeah, asking for a friend actually. But yes, Pascal is contributing most of the time on this repo, and we're discussing the things from time to time. But he asked me if I can ask this in the meeting. But
I mean, I can send you the steps. Like, I know the actual steps to get it into the org. I don't know what the considerations are, like what we accept into it versus not. This could be a good discussion for the TOC channel, maybe. But someone should be able to get you access to a blob store that the CFF pays for if you want to start publishing
yeah, that would also
blobs for it.
I think we could give you access to a GCP project. Now I just have to find it. So at some point, someone gave us access to a GCP project for the concourse thingy, and we also migrated our HA proxy Bosch release to use the some GCP bucket instead of our own AWS.
That's the GCP account for this working group, right?
Yes.
Maybe, yeah. I've never looked at it, so I hope you're doing good things in there.
There's really not a lot.
I'm gonna give you
I'll check, and Johan, maybe I can just give you access.
Sure. Okay, we can discuss this offline.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
Just through the door there.
Mm. Yeah, well, actually.
To our working groups. And I'll share the steps to get this into the main repo, what do you call that? Org. Okay. Lots of topics today. Is there anything else? Okay. Happy Thursday. See you in August.
See you next time.
See you
Happy.
next time.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.